Whoops. All right, off we go.
It's so I guess what happens is when it's on your cloud, I can't record it now. I guess it doesn't matter. You'll send it.
I'll send it to you. Yeah, I don't know what happened. All
Yeah,
right.
it's fine. No worries.
All right. So if anyone was tuned in, you can hear it, Madeline and I discussing the nitty-gritty of
On the
this
recording,
recording and
technical.
streaming and blah, blah, blahing about all that stuff. So uh welcome, Amalia Natalio and Madeline Parker,
Hola.
joining all of you today to share the upcoming Aquarius full moon, which is happening on August 19th at 2:26 p.m. Eastern at 27 degrees 15 minutes. Okay. I'm taking a deep breath as we embark on this conversation because there is a lot of activity for this full moon. I'm going to share a little bit about what I'm seeing as far as the moon energy, and some aspects to the moon. And Madeline's going to do a deeper dive into the broad picture of how this is going to affect us and some of the other transits that are also a part of the story. So Aquarius is an air sign. It's ruled by Uranus, and there is a lot of stops or surprises, stops, starts, like all of this very unsettling energy that's actually shaking us up in order to open up to new possibilities, a higher way of viewing our lives, a higher experience of our lives. Because this is a full moon, we may have some complicated emotions that arise during this time. So feelings of fear or anger or jealousy may come up. So be aware of that and find ways to move through them differently. So if you tend to be, things are coming up that are creating anger in you, instead of firing off all of these words at someone, because Mercury is in retrograde, which would not necessarily be a good idea in general, process that anger in another way. Go for a run. I'm not a runner, but there have been times when I've just gone to the beach and just like sprinted down the beach until I couldn't breathe because I had to get some energy out. Sometimes for me also taking a shower feels really nice because this is Aquarian energy. It could be yelling, like expelling air, could be breath work, whatever feels good to you to move through that. And also be aware of anytime you feel your emotions and your instincts in conflict. So if you are having some sort of an emotional response, which would be the moon, and your instincts are telling you to send that email. I'm sorry, your instincts are telling you not to send the email, but your emotions are fired up and telling you to. Take a pause, take a beat, and kind of notice the difference between the two, because that's a great indicator of where there might be dissonance and where pushing pause on the whole situation might be a good idea. So just some overarching energy. The Aquarius energy also connects to your calves, your ankles, your shin, your Achilles, your forearm muscles, and your thyroid hormones. And I think that's really important to point out because our hormones affect a lot of how we see and interpret our lives. So just be aware of that. Okay, some aspects to the moon really quickly, and then I'm going to let Madeline take the mic. So we have the sun and the moon opposing each other in the sky, which happens at every full moon. It's that tension between your inner and your outer world. Be aware of that. We also have an opposition between the moon and Mercury, which is in retrograde. So there's a potential for misunderstandings, for misinterpreting things. So, and you're going to feel that very emotionally. There's a sensitivity, and you may not be thinking clearly, which can lead to miscommunications of some kind. So that to me feels so important to point out because it can create arguments and conflict where there doesn't need to be. Really just go in. We do have a really nice aspect of the moon trine Mars, which brings you a feeling of courage and initiative, and you can access your passion. So you're tapping into your emotions and being able to potentially express that creatively. There's also another favorable aspect, the moon trine Jupiter, which will create a motivated, optimistic, positive energy. And this is going to support the potential of growth within relationships, which I think is, that's a big thing. I'm feeling that myself. Then we also have the moon square Uranus, and this can be tough because we've got a potential for emotional turbulence. There might be a need for freedom, surprises, and there could be relationship changes for women because this is connected to the moon. So some awareness of that. And then I wanted to share with everyone one thing that this has been really helpful for me is this impact chart. So if you know where your sun, moon, and ascendant are in your chart, and you can look here, it shows you where the moon is, and then it shows you where the red lines are the ones that can feel a little bit challenging. So if you have any planets in the high degrees of Scorpio, first degrees of Sag, the later degrees of Leo, early degrees of Virgo, and the later degrees of Taurus, early degrees of Gemini, you are likely to be really feeling this particular full moon. And as Madeline, I'm sure, will be sharing, there's a lot of activity in the cosmos that you may even be feeling already. I know that I'm definitely feeling I have some personal transits that are challenging, but I feel like there's some of the other transits in the sky are also being felt. And there's also a very positive one, which Madeline will be, well, it's hard to say positive or negative, but maybe very supportive, feel good kind of transit too. So that's it for me, Madeline. What say ye?
Wow. I'm telling you, this week's going to be pretty crazy. And next week, this full moon is the revolution. I mean, it's like in our own lives and in the world. I mean, okay, so we've been having Uranus, Jupiter conjoined April 20th. Then we had Uranus, Mars conjoined July 15th. And now we're going to have Mars, Jupiter conjoining, squaring Saturn. But this full moon and Mercury, let me pull the chart, are going to be squaring Uranus and Uranus is still, oops. What do you see? Do you see I got to open it up. And Uranus is still at that same degree point. And it's ruled by Venus. I mean, this is involving every single planet, all our houses, because there's so much connection between these planets. It's hard to know the ones that are, there's nothing, the sun is in it. I'll get more into these things, but Jupiter or Mars are not necessarily in dignity. Mercury's in dignity and retrograde in Virgo. So we look at our Mercury houses ruled by Mercury in retrograde, which is squaring. Oh wait, let me get to the right day here. I popped over. Which is squaring Uranus here. Where's Mercury? And where are you? So Mercury is at 25 degrees squaring Uranus, but actually it's been squaring. Where the heck? I'm lost here. Where is you? Oh, there it is. There's Mercury squaring Uranus, which is going to be happening before it's actually even building right now. I mean, it exact squares Uranus on the 17th. So it's like all of those. And then, okay, so then we're looking at Venus in the picture. Venus is squaring Jupiter and Mars. And Venus rules the big Uranus conjunctions that we've had. So that's Venus. And then Mars is in the picture. So we got to look at our Mars houses. And then Jupiter's in the picture. So we got to look at our Jupiter houses. And then Saturn's in the picture.
My heart is like racing just thinking about all this because
I know
it's activating so much of everyone's chart.
Yes,
like
that's how crazy. Yes, and then Saturn. We've got to look at our Saturn houses. So that's the entire lot. That's the group right there of our personal planets. Then the craziest thing is happening, and I'll zero in on this full moon here in a minute, but the background, I've got to tell you, is insane because we've got all the outer planets at the anaretic degrees. Well, Uranus isn't there yet, but it's building to that 28, 29 is going to get to 29 degrees soon. Pluto's going to be at 29 degrees Taurus. And then Neptune's going to be, it might be retrograde at that point into about 28 degrees or so Pisces. And then we're going to get this incredible divine sort of roof of protection. So there's, I mean, I don't want to say the more spiritual you are, the more you're going to ride through these. This is basically revolutionary energy. So in our lives and in the world where our old ways just don't work anymore, the old solutions just don't work anymore, the more spiritual we're guided, the more higher consciousness we are guided, the better the outcome with your Saturn square here, which I'm going to talk a little more about. But anyway, there's so much to talk about. But the point being is walking a higher consciousness path, walking a more, shall we say, justice, being honest. Like yesterday, my son got given too much money on his paycheck. He drove back and gave it the money back. He was really honest about it. Like if we, that you're going to get a positive on this aspect of Saturn square, or if you're not in any way, you're going to pay, you have to pay. But old structures that are not sound are coming down. This is why some of this energy could be earthquake type energy, because this full moon squares this algal spot in the sky that happened, Uranus, when the assassination attempt happened. So we could see an absolute revolutionary reaction to these things. We're already seeing major demonstrations happening in Venezuela. I was reading about it, but I cannot remember what the topic was. In England and in all over the world, where this is basically, you know, society
Melanie,
kind of crashing. Yeah.
Interject one thing about algol too, is that algol is, you know, but in myth is like, has to do with losing your head. So it's not just like with the attempted assassination on Trump, where it was his head. I mean, it missed and it was in his ear, but it's also people losing their heads, like losing their minds, like going a little bit wacky. And I think that you were speaking to that somewhat, but I wanted to give everyone a little bit of a backdrop framework of what algol represents. So it's like, holy smokes. And it can also just mean that you set a really strong boundary. It's like and cut the head off of something can literally just mean it's done. Like you are, like I set a boundary with my son. I'm like, no more on that day. But that was, you know, so it doesn't have to be really like murderous, but the potential is there, and it's hard to tell with Uranian energy because it's a wild card. So basically, I mean, it's just as I'm studying this full moon, I'm just really quite blown away, because we're going to start seeing in this full moon in our lives, because really our focus here is our own personal lives, not the mundane, not the outside world. But you can't help but say that something is going to happen in the outside world that affects our lives personally. But we do have this spiritual protection, but we always do. So it sounds like, oh, we only that day, but there's some sort of way through, because it's a roof energy. It's a way through that we can find should we use our connection to higher, like the animals do, because the animals are really connected spiritually. So I'm not saying there may not be anything sort of a disaster, but it's just saying the more spiritually connected you are, because here's the thing, the old ways are no longer working for us. This could be an earthquake. Like an earthquake literally shows unstable structures, because the unstable structures fall down and the stable structures stay. So that's the kind of energy, and it's in our society and it's in our lives, our personal lives. So we're going to go through all the 12 signs and see where the revolution is happening in our own personal lives. But this is just sort of a breaking through energy of stuck energies that are stopping us from progressing with that Saturn square. And then Mars, Jupiter gives us the impetus to get over things, to be motivated, to drive, to bust through some kind of a limitation that we are in our own lack of abilities, or our own lack of some sort of structure. We have to restructure something. I'm restructuring an old project that I sort of abandoned. And remember, Saturn's retrograde, Mercury's retrograde. We're dealing with things from the past coming back. So projects coming back. I'm definitely doing that. I've been working on an energy balancing journal, and I had sort of Mars, Jupiter, you have a breakthrough, like, woo, ideas, Gemini,
I suddenly, and squaring Saturn, I'm changing the structure of it. And it is very much my Jupiterian thing. And that's the other thing to talk about is that Jupiter and Saturn conjoined December 2020, December 21, 20, around that period.
Yeah.
And they were joined for a long period. And that was to really the wake up, the call. It was a 0 degrees Aquarius, which is the degree at which this triangle roof thing happens at, where we are being protected to continue on the path of that independent reach to be a part of the new earth and to propel us into a new era, the new era of Aquarius. Why it's so exciting to be here, because we're going to see a whole shift in these energies right now, because I mean, you know, these squares activating that point, it's sort of like you know, big change. I mean, you know, it's some kind of, hopefully not a crisis, hopefully not violent, with Mars in the picture. Could be, because Mars and Jupiter, they get heated up like we were just talking about.
Well, and I think that
yeah.
these planets are also going to be square 2 more times before this is done. So I think just Christmas Eve, December 24th of this year, and then sometime, I think June of next year.
I think this time next year, but I think they square at 0 degrees on my ascendant.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, this time I think 2025. Yeah.
It's very, to me, that strikes me as very significant, because it's really like hammering away at each of us to change something. It's like, okay, there's like that first hit, and then maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. But then the second one comes, and then the third one comes. So it's like, if there's something that really looks like it needs to be shaken up, it's probably not going to change or go away unless you address it.
Well,
there's going to be 2 more shots at it.
Saturn can be, you know, we become aware of something. In order to succeed at this project, we have to do something we don't want to do. That's why we're not succeeding, because we haven't been doing it. So now we have to do it. But, you know, Saturn is in the picture to make sure to give us the universal order of structure of manifesting things in the reality field. And there's a structure, there's a universal order, and we have to follow that. So we don't know. And it's usually, it's mundane. It's something we don't want. When I say mundane, I mean boring. It's repetitive. It's no frill. It's discipline. It's not gratifying in the moment at all. You know, it's mature, because you're working for the long term. You're not just looking for short-term gratification. You're following a cosmic order, and the time that is needed. Saturn is time. You have to put time into it. You have to, it's discipline. You have to put repeated time, long term, and you win in the end. But, you know, but Saturn is going to align you when we have these squares. And it's interesting that it hits this square to Jupiter with Mars there. I mean, it's just wild. It's like, of all the times that it could make that square, and it's like Mars is there going, no, we're going to be able to do it. We're going to be able to jump over this hoop. We're getting a lot of energy to do it. I mean, I'm really charged up by these energies. I'm not going to lie. My leg is like constantly twitching, because it's so electrical, and I'm very sensitive to energy. I have so much water in me that I'm feeling it, you know, because you mentioned Aquarius is air energy. These energies are Jupiter and Mars are in a Mercury ruled energetic electric energy, a very strong energy, because these 2 energies come together. They're very, very powerful. Mars is fire, outward energy. Jupiter is also really, I mean, you know, we're talking really powerful. Yeah. If this was a chemistry lab, it would be like a big boom, you know, and then with Uranus squaring it, are you kidding me? I mean, honestly, I think it might be a time to prepare, you know, to have water. There could be earthquakes. Make sure you have plans. I mean, I just tell my dad that. He's right, lives on the San Andreas Fault. And I say, Dad, you have a plan. You know, I'm not going to scare you, but just, if he has like an extra fridge in where you're really, really hot weather, and it's like your power's out, then you're in heat, and it's over 115 degrees, you know, whatever. So it's like, store ice in a freezer, freeze it all up ahead of time. I mean, you know, just do that, because these energies are just kind of out of the, shall we say, realm of possible options as far as potential crises and things. You know, it could be the people talking about the market coming down. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there could be an electrical surge from the solar flares that could knock things up, knock power out.
Yeah, I
So
feel like there's a potential for some disruption, but not necessarily worldwide catastrophe. It's just be prepared in do some things, some small things, so that way you have at least a little cushion if something does happen. And then if it doesn't, it's not a big deal, you know?
yeah,
You
it's just smart. Animals have little storages of some animals. They store dig little tunnels, and that's
yeah, exactly.
anyway, it's not going to hurt you to I mean, you know, I live right by a big body of water, so I just carry water. But anyway, it's a time to be concerned if structures can come down, whatever metaphor that can be, in a structural governmental way, or in a, you know, your own personal structure in your life. If it is not a structure that's winning, that's bringing you to success for the long term, which means it's not supportive, it'll come down and your life will transform. We're going to see mega shifts and changes in this full moon. And, you know, a revolution. But here's the other thing about this, is that this new structure that Saturn is saying that you have to take here is going to give you the results, the abundance on the other side of this. There's abundance. There's, shall we say, the breakthrough of the barrier of us not knowing what the Saturn thing was we needed to do. So it's like Saturn's stepping in to help, and you may not like it.
I was just going to say, Saturn stepping in to help usually doesn't feel awesome.
Yep. It's the parent that's saying you have to do this.
Right.
You know, and that's what I'm doing with my, I'm getting that I have to restructure. I have to do that. So it's like, there's things that, you know, I'm restructuring my life in many ways because of the way it's particularly hitting my chart. But you know what? It's going to be hard for anybody to know exactly which is the more dominant house that's going to be impacted by this. But we're going to go with the full moon. But
That'll
you know, it's the
highlight
Aquarius. Yeah, it's ruled by Saturn. So we'll look at your Saturn houses first, but then Mercury's in retrograde, where a lot of information is coming out, reveals, communication, truth, and you were mentioning that. So, and then it's going to move into, oh, it's actually in Leo during the full moon. Mercury moves out of Virgo and is actually into Leo, which is even more fired up. And yeah, and that's squaring the alcohol point. So, you know, words that hurt, that cut people's heads off, you know, words that really like. So, you know, this is going to be an interesting thing, because there's an option here we're going to have, and this is where, by operating with a higher consciousness, we get rewards, and we follow that divine consciousness, and we're going to have really positive results. And really the most important thing that has to be said, because Jupiter and Mars in a way can be seen as peace between the people, because Jupiter is for the humanity, is for good, and Mars is with Jupiter, which is with the people. Saturn is the government. So that's why we're seeing all these demonstrations. So it's almost like Mars is supporting Jupiter, which is the people. And and it's going to support everybody who solves problems, because Gemini's information, knowledge, practical, it's the reality. It's not the high, what is it? Macro. This is the micro. Of ideas that are practical for the people, Jupiter, to improve humanity for the sake of humanity, right? And Aquarius is humanitarianism. So it's like, if you walk in the motivation for the betterment of humanity, you will win. And the more independent we walk here in these early degrees of Pluto and Aquarius, the more supported you are by the universe, the more we galvanize, we work with our fellow man, because the energy of they're trying to, a lot of the negative structures of the dark forces that are against the liberation of the people are trying to brainwash us into fighting each other. Well, you know, Mars, Jupiter coming together is potentially us saying, no, we're not fighting, we're aligning. Because really, in the truth, Mercury retrograde, the truth is that everybody wants the same thing. We all just want clean water, happy place to live, peaceful conditions, good schools, good food. I mean, every human is, they're humans, or no, there's nothing different. It's like, you know,
Madeline,
it's just nuts.
I wanted to
Yeah.
just add one thing to what you were saying about,
Yeah.
you know, when we're walking our path and we're taking action for one another, supporting one another, we all win, or we win.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's so true. And it's almost like loosening our mental grip on what winning is, because what we may think
Interesting.
is a win for us, or that thing, or that person, or that job, or that whatever it is, that's the thing. It may actually be something else that we don't see in that moment, but we think we've lost, or we think it's, you know,
Yes.
I guess that's just my point.
Yeah.
It's just
No,
having,
I know what you're saying.
yeah, have a loose mental grip on what it is that you would interpret as winning. Because I know for me personally, I've had a couple of things in the past couple of months that have not turned out the way I expected them to. And I
Mhm.
could say, oh, well, maybe it was a loss, or maybe it was like I made a mistake or something along those lines, but recognizing the whole story has likely not completely unfolded.
Yep.
So kind of wait and see and continue moving forward, you know, not get lost in the loss, as it were.
Yeah. Exactly. I get texts from people going, I just got a text from someone saying, gosh, your read completely came true, but not in the way that I imagined. So it's
Yeah,
like we have these perceptions.
exactly.
So yes, and that's another thing that's going to happen in this Mars Jupiter is we get breakthroughs of fit, we become transformed in our thinking, or we have spiritual sort of breakthroughs because of Uranus is waking people up, and the new Earth is 100%, 50% more spiritual. It's more balanced energies because it's a more golden era, and so there's masses of awakenings up going on in this full moon, where we're really getting a mass empowerment to create positive shifts in these energies. So it's like the universe is behind it. And that's the other thing. We're entering the age of Aquarius, which every era we're in is always, that energy is supported. When it was Romans in the Aries era, if you invaded a country and took over Mars, ruled by Mars, you succeeded. So whoever felt like taking over a country and just taking it, you would win, because that was the energy of Mars. And then in the Piscean era, if you were religious or involved in Christianity, and it was kind of the dark ages, you would be a little bit more abundant, I think, than the rest of the planet. So anyway, and now we're in the energy of Aquarius. So, and Aquarius is the power to the people. So it's there, we know the outcome of these revolutionary acts. And theoretically, now there's always revolutions occurring. We've had, there's a cycle in astrology, you can see it. And some say it's like every 150 something years that democracy turns corrupt and it has to sort of shake down and become and rebirth and start fresh again. But we are on a 240-year Pluto return for America. And so that energy is the energy of revolution, and we have it in history. Every so many 240 years, when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we see revolutions in countries and things. So it's like the people suddenly are given the get-go to knock it down, by these energies. So it's like that's what's happening now. So but it hasn't happened in the era of Aquarius before. So that's why I have faith that it's going to be more galvanized, that the people really joining together, and that it really, the structures that don't support the people financially, investing in investment companies that are more like there's investment companies opening up that are really just based on the people that they have. Like a lot of the celebrities have some sort of group ability to really make money or something. Well, now people are tapping in and doing that, and people are making groups that do that. Or anyway, they're just like distributing the wealth better. It's really interesting, and they're getting a lot of energetic support, and it's more independent, and it supports the people. So whatever anybody efforts to do that liberates the people, they're going to win in these energies. So I think that in general, with Mars on Jupiter there, if people are getting that, that's why people are there, we're seeing these demonstrations, because people are getting the guts and the balls with Mars.
To do something.
And
So
in our own personal lives too, we're going to have the balls to bust through some kind of a barrier that is really stopping us. And it's usually ego, because Mars is ego. But go ahead. Yes.
I was just going to say, if you want to stop sharing the screen, I have a couple comments we could talk about really quickly.
Yes. Sure.
So Regina, who I know personally, who's an Aquarius sun, says she's definitely been feeling some things that have come up that aren't common for her, like they're
Okay.
very different. So kind of what we were
Yeah.
talking about early on. And then, I basically was just, saying that, let the feelings guide you without getting swept up in them, which I think
Mhm.
we can all do in one form or another. And she was just saying, how can she respond differently with kindness to others and to herself? And I just wanted to address this. I feel like it would be a lot to type, but I have a couple of thoughts. Madeline, do you have any suggestions on that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, what's happening is that we really have to be open-minded, because we have to understand that people, if we're clashing in beliefs, that if we have to not be cults. We have to be open-minded to other people's philosophies and see if there's a resonance or truth, and then meditate on it, and be open-minded, and to not be insistent on being right. Because right now we have to be, because this is a whole new paradigm. We don't know anymore. What we think is completely scrambling up. It's like, so we just have to be seeking of a truth that is a truth, that, because that's what Jupiter is. There is a universal truth. So whatever everyone's talking about, just say, okay, well, I heard that, and now I'm going to look for a truth here. So that's the truth. And you don't have to argue with people about that truth. You just have to personally seek the truth. And that's what Jupiter wants us to do, because then when we instead of arguing beliefs, find out what's true, and then work on the truth, work on that, because that's what we can fix or deal with, the truth. So that's part of this thing, is that we lock onto these beliefs and sides and religions, and when really the universe is trying, it's supposed to be mutable. It's a mutable energy. The universe is trying to always, because things are always changing, we need to be adaptive in what we think. It's a mutable energy to adapt to change. So we have to be mutable, adaptive. These are all happening in the adaptive energies of Gemini and Pisces. So it's like to be mentally flexible, to be able to agile, be able to jump around. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, I love that. I love that interpretation too.
That's my addition.
Yeah, I love that interpretation of the, not getting so caught up in being right, or really standing, because I think that could be tricky for some people, where it's not necessarily that they need to be right, but they really want the other person to hear what they're saying, and at least give their viewpoint a chance. And I feel like that can go both ways. Sometimes you're maybe not doing that for the other person. And that's what you were talking about, like finding that truth, and that truth for you may be different than the truth for someone else. And can you just get curious about what they're saying, or about your belief, and expand that a little bit and play with that for a while. And then I feel like in that, if in your own self-inquiry, that's giving yourself kindness. And in turn, you're respecting and honoring yourself, your boundaries, your beliefs. And then and without making the other person wrong, I feel like that's an act of kindness, without having to be inauthentic or go out of your way to almost bypass what's going on. Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful. Let me go back and see. So yeah, basically it's Regina saying, yeah, observing how she can respond differently with kindness and clarity, including to myself, self-care, self-love. First, always allow space for everyone to have a voice. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's true because
Yeah, and also learn, just be open to learning, because Jupiter and Gemini is learning more wisdom,
yeah,
expanding wisdom, knowledge, information, you know.
yeah, because I
But
know
it is the truth. There is actually a universal truth. Like this thing of my truth and your truth. That's like in a relationship thing or whatever. But in how to walk a higher path, you want to lock into the that's what Saturn is all about. Is like that's why walking the ethical path is a cosmic is a truth. There is an ethical truth. There's a like not harm other people,
oh,
and
sure, yeah, yeah,
like spiritual truths and the laws of like your energy you put out. If you're trying to scam somebody, you're going to get scammed in these energies and it's going to hit you back, so you're just going to want to know the higher path, the higher conscious path, and then you get a better result through these energies 100%. So and you know what, humanity, this is the other beautiful thing, because Aquarius is humanity, right? It's like we're really going to wake up to how beautiful humans as a species really are, because that's what we're waking up to, is that the animals like dogs, and they're so loving and sweet and sensitive. Maybe not all the animals like bears, but I mean, you know what I mean, like doggies and things. And it's like people really have that capacity too. And it's like we're sort of discovering that. It's coming out of this, but we're coming that's being pulled out of these fights, these religious fights, these mental fights of beliefs and thinks. And, when you get over that, you kind of become more connected to the struggles of each human being on this planet, which is just to simply thrive and have a good life. I mean, really the motive of each individual person here is for good, So anyway.
and to
So yes,
enjoy our time here.
yes.
Yeah.
And really grow spirit. We're here to really grow karmically,
Well,
for sure, as we know. But anyway, but on the whole, humans are soft people. I mean, they're really, there's a lot of beauty in humans, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's like, it's hard to explain. But we're, because we've been trained to fight and not like each other to having a different belief or a different opinion or a different religion or a different politics. And it's like, but really, when you put that aside and you have a moment one-to-one with people, they're really big heart teddy bears.
yeah.
I mean, that's my experience.
I agree. It can be hard to get there if you've got all of these filters and preconceived notions about them based on religion or political affiliation or whatever. So, are we ready to dive into?
I guess so. I mean, I'm charged up in these energies, obviously.
So let's,
oh my gosh.
Let's
fire
it up with Aries.
Aries. Okay, and I'm just sitting here trying to think I mean, okay, Aries, you're Mars, so you guys are probably going to feel this, the most, because it's definitely firing up your chart. You're ruled by Mars. So let me get some guys got to go the other way. Oh, there we go. So Mars and there, oh wow. So you have it in your third house of communication, short distance travel, busy, moving around, communicating, emailing, very motivated. You might even be very motivated to write something. And you're breaking through. Saturn is in your 12th. So there is some sort of karmic past life barrier or belief, spiritual belief. You're breaking through some sort of block and some kind of spiritual belief that's been stopping you from really stepping into your Jupiterian. It's like you're waking up, because Mars is hitting Jupiter. It's almost like you want to do something more meaningful, more spiritually, but you have a barrier. You've had a mental rigidity around spirituality on some level. This is interesting. This will probably be the theme for most houses here, but there's some sort of opening up to spirituality, because that square is changing something. It's changing our mind. It's action. We're doing something. It's or it can be a block. It can be a frustration. So there's getting over a barrier and block, a spiritual rigidity about spirituality that's getting you over a block from working on some kind of writing project or communication or website, media, writing, and somehow you have this big awakening and you involve more spirituality. And this is a very karmic thing because one, Saturn is in retrograde, and which is going in and dealing with deep stuff. It's in your 12th house, which is past life. So this is some sort of karmic resistance, fear from trauma in a past life. So that's just focusing on the Mars. I mean, I'm not going into the Jupiter stuff yet, you know, because you got to look at your Jupiter houses, which is your 9th house, which is your Sagittarius, which is your belief. So this is a big earthquake, revolution in your mentality around spirituality and all astrology, and it's a big revolution about what you think. That's what I'm going to say on that one.
Significant, yeah. Well, I feel like the Hong Kong orchid is a really fantastic support for Aries, because this flower really encourages self-acceptance. So like you were talking about, and expressing yourself, which feels really in tune with what's happening right now for them. So, and that
they
could be
may
in a number of
suddenly
different
speak.
ways.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that's another thing. They may suddenly blurt out and communicate on the stage, just so you know. Sorry, but you tapped right on that.
Yeah. So Hong Kong orchid. And as a reminder for anyone who's watching and is not familiar with the flower cards, I'm using the Lotus Way Flower Evolution deck. And you can either take a screenshot of the flower, purchase the flowers if they're available locally for you, and or use any of their elixirs or essences. Oh yeah, and it's Aries. So Madeline can awesomely do the timestamps. But here's one, you know, one of the flower essences. It's in a spray form. It's just, this one smells like cinnamon.
I love that.
And it opens
Is
your
that
heart.
Aries?
This
What's the color? Red. So
yeah, this has to do with fearless vulnerability, uninhibited surrender, and intimate freedom. It's yeah, this one's almost empty. I've used it a lot. So okay. Shall we move on to
Taurus? So yeah, the other thing is there could be conflicts, just so Aries know, because there could be verbal conflicts and fights and arguments. So just warning you. And accidents, driving in the car, you're driving, 3rd house. You know, I told you there's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot. Okay, so now we're going to go to Taurus.
Taurus. You want to put the card up, Madeline?
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
Taurus. I have to leave it a while too, because when I go back,
I know
you can't see it.
You can't see it. I know.
Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to block the whole screen. Taurus.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, because I think we tried to do this one other time and we ran into, or I did, and I ran into the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So Mars and Jupiter are joining in your 2nd house, and this full moon of Aquarius. You know what? I didn't even talk about the full moon in Aquarius for Aries, did I? I feel like
I kind of felt like the Mars part was part of the full moon, but no.
The Aquarius full moon is happening in your 11th house, Aries. Sorry. So there's a new tribe. Just to throw that out there. I'm just like, gosh, there's so, see, my brain. I'm a little ADD, and in Vedic I'm ruled by Mercury. So okay. Anyway, so yeah, so in their 11th house is the full moon. So a whole new tribe connection that is your true destiny tribe that is supportive of this project.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Sorry to Aries. All right. Now we are going to do Taurus, which we already put up, and so that's going to be, Taurus is going to be hitting in their 12th house is Aries. Sorry. So their Aquarius full moon is hitting in their 10th house of career. So you're going to get a sudden, perhaps quitting of a job, getting fired, and then Saturn. So if you have, you know, again, it depends on what you have done, or, you know, Saturn can work good or bad, but it's in the right just. So it can be ending your job, but a drastic shift and change in a career, full moon. But usually full moons bring, if you do get fired, it is to liberate you. This full moon, if it ends something, because of that Saturn square. It's going to liberate you. You're going to be free to do your calling, and maybe you have a job that's in the way of what you're here to do. But Mars is in your second house, so you're going to be driven and motivated to maybe do this, to make this calling that you have to do, actually earn money. And there is a creative solution here through a restriction. It could be that you have a job and you need to get out of that kind of a job situation, or a restricted parent. What else? Saturn is in your 11th, so perhaps a block with a contract with another group that you can't work on something with, but you can end it, or it is a contract, or restructuring a project with a group. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have the Icelandic lichen. I need to lock this into my brain how you pronounce this exactly, but this this actually supports you to be a bit more grounded and to follow through. So if there's some sort of blockage to a career shift or some aspect of your life that could relate to how you're engaging with the outer world, the public, this could actually be very supportive for you to no longer be quite as fragile, where you're worried about what people might think or what they might say. It allows you to be stronger within yourself, which I think is so important too, if you're going to be going into a change or a different job or something. For some reason, I keep seeing this has to do with other people, like how you present yourself to other people. And so just know that, well, here it says, you're going to be showing who you are, and that's going to impact others. So I love this for Taurus.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that's exactly, because they have Saturn in the 11th house. So they either end a friendship with a group of people that's holding them back, that's not letting them be themselves, and they break through and they really be themselves and become more popular, or they have a fallout with a group of friends over money because it's in their second house, and they meet a whole new group of people here, because it's Uranus is the energy of tribe and the people, your tribes. So it's hard to fully know. It could be tough though, because that square you could be radically ending a tribe group, but then a better one comes that you can be yourself with more. And then in that second house, you're really motivated. It can also be creative, a creative project where you can express yourself freely, or you've had better self-esteem. So you're ending relationships with a tribe group that didn't value you, maybe.
Yeah.
But remember, this is revolutionary energy. These are sudden earthquakes, changes. So hopefully not too tough on everybody.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to do Gemini. Do here, Gemini into the screen. Gemini. All right. So of course, Mars, Jupiter in your first house. Oh my gosh, you're motivated, you're busy, you're running around. When Jupiter hits your first house, you initiate big projects, you take on, you're very much a leader, you have faith in yourself, you have a lot of energy, you can gain weight too, but it's like go time. Then when Mars there, are you kidding me? The Geminis must be just like rocket fuel right now. And then but then Saturn is coming in and giving them a hard time in their career house. So there could be conflicts in their work situation that could be very explosive, very eruptive, that you end up quitting your job. You end up fighting with your boss. You have a big clash in beliefs about the quality of the work involved. And you're trying to do more quality, and they don't want you to spend that money, and don't believe in doing that kind of work because it's not quality, or da. So you're liberated now. You're going to end this job. It's potential conflict there, or just a fight in your workforce conflict, but it maybe doesn't necessarily end your job. But you do have Mercury squaring don't forget we have Mercury squaring Uranus on all of this, which I keep forgetting to mention, just to add another little bit of dose of gasoline to all of this. Because Mercury squaring Uranus, and so is the moon. So there's going to be arguments here, but then there's breakthroughs, too. So for Gemini, this is a full moon in your ninth house around a belief. So you're going to have a spiritual awakening for Gemini. They're going to have a Sagittarian sort of spiritual aha. Now, and spirituality doesn't just mean, you believe in the angels or whatever, but it can mean that you see, and it's in your ninth house, that you can see the commonality between humans. You see that because the ninth house is the higher consciousness, spirituality, philosophy. It's the guru, it's light. You see the light in humanity, and so you want to serve humanity because Pluto's going to be trining your first house. So it's like an awakening, change of belief, spiritual awakening. But they quit a job because maybe they see that it's an unethical job, or they don't want to support. A lot of these energies could happen that people don't want to support corrupt systems. And also a lot of companies are coming down right now because they're based on old structures. My son has been interviewing at some companies in the fashion world, and he says they're on the brink. And I don't mean to scare people, but they've been surviving on slave labor, and that's not something humanity wants to support anymore.
Yeah. So
these things are kind of going to change shape, and it's going to be for the better. So we have to go through that, which is what we're seeing in these next couple of weeks, some of these shifts. So Gemini, ruled by Mercury retrograde. Mercury's in your third house, which is a conflicting energy, problems from the past, situations from the past at work, or contracts that were not worked out, that were not have to be redone here in Mercury retrograde. So and beware, Gemini, of being in conflicts. You guys are going to feel it probably the most. You're going to have Jupiter, Mars right now in your first house, emboldening you, going, I know.
Well, I feel like Euphrasia can come to the rescue for this, because Euphrasia activates your intuition, and the message is be decisive. And I feel like everything that you were saying really lines up with that. It's time now to trust yourself and potentially, and that ninth house, higher wisdom, higher knowledge, that spiritual connection, that feels so important in terms of your intuitive knowing, and then being able to take action from there. And action, you said Mars, Jupiter in the first house of the self, being able to expand yourself and take action based on your passions, based on what you've learned, based on what you know, and then trusting yourself to do that. And that could be then leading to a change in career. So Euphrasia seems quite supportive of where Geminis are now and where they're going.
And what's interesting is there's sort of three, which is the third energy of Gemini's, the third house. And didn't we see this happening? What house was this? What's happening? Oh, that's the Leo house. Well, Mercury's in their third house in the sign of Leo. So they could, interesting. A media project expanding too, and communication. Maybe they're going to communicate about what they're seeing.
Yeah.
A new expanded mind for Gemini.
Well, any Geminis out there, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Cancer.
I feel like you can't see that very well, Cancer. Okay, so Cancer, you lovely Cancer, have it in your, so Aquarius is your 8th house. I know this by heart because it's my chart. Aquarius is your 8th house. Taurus, you have Uranus in your 11th. By the way, this full moon square is Uranus, so look at that house. And so we've got this is an 8th house full moon, so there could be conflict involving joint resources, a sudden surprising situation. It could, for me that day, it's very positive. I have nothing but trying, so it could end a conflict around. Sometimes squares end conflicts, end debts, and it could be a surprising end of a debt because you've behaved spiritually around a situation with an ex-person and you've acted in higher consciousness. But anyway, with the but it could also be a problem. With Saturn in the ninth, but Saturn rules your eighth and your seventh, and Saturn is government, taxes, eighth house is taxes. There could be a surprising expense coming in, a situation involving, I'm going through that with my ex-husband. So this is all about that. It could come to a culminating point and then terminate, and then you're liberated from it. It may cost money. You may have to suddenly pay money. Surprising, shocking situation, but the divine, that trine of the planets are over your, you got Pluto protecting you, making a sextile to Neptune, very spiritual, going to this, so it makes a little roof protecting you. So you're protected in your finances, in your career, and your 11th house. So positive things happening in your 11th house because it's Aquarius house. So try perhaps good success on social media as a result of being more diligent and consistent, which I'm definitely doing reluctantly, because Saturn makes us do what we don't want to do. And it's not that I don't want to do it, but I'm waking up to learning how to want to do it and enjoy it, so that I do it more for the long haul. And I'm having more fun with it. So I think, well, Jupiter, Mars in your 12th house, you're motivated and driven to overcome a barrier. And it could be a subconscious barrier, which is kind of true. So there's some sort of subconscious barrier to your success in this venture that you're overcoming, that you're barreling over with strong determination and driven.
It's like you're
and also, yeah.
I was going to say, it's clear you're speaking from your own personal experience. It's like you can speak to this so clearly. Like, I got this one.
Yeah, totally. But also travel could get blocked. My son is planning to travel. He's Cancer rising, with that Saturn blocking that. He's got plans to travel to the UK. I have a feeling that's going to get blocked. So yes, you're right. I am speaking from I'm living it right now.
Yeah, you are. So this might be helpful to you then, Natalie. The red bird of paradise activates focus and get it done. It's motivating. It activates your drive, your passion. It's pretty much all of what you kind of closed out that share about Cancer with. And it's also dissolves procrastination. So like you were saying, those things that you weren't doing, this is very supportive to get those things done. And they will be supportive for you in the long run. So, yeah.
Yes, Cancer, Jupiter is protecting you in your 12th. So whatever sort of, if there's some sort of scary tax thing happening or some kind of a crisis around finances showing up, just trust, because you've got Pluto in your 8th house. So you're supposed to learn how to trust. Jupiter wants you to stay in faith, and it will work out great.
Indeed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Leo, the fiery leaders of the heart. Okay, so Leo are going to have, first of all, Mercury is retrograde in your own house, so you might get fired up. It's squaring Uranus. You might suddenly get an argument. You might, and also be careful for accidents. You might suddenly quit a job. You have Uranus in your 10th house. The Aquarius energy is in your 7th house. You could suddenly get an argument with your relationship, significant other, or contracted relationships could suddenly end, full on, come to their fruition. Sometimes the full moon is like the end of something. It's gone its fullest. It's at its peak. You can no longer grow in this situation. It could be an ending of a relationship, or it could be the illumination of the problems that have stopped the relationship from progressing in the cosmic mission of the relationship. So it's transformed. So then we have social media networking type stuff on with that Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury in your 2nd. So and Leo are creative. So like, for instance, my son is quitting his job, his Leo son, and he is starting his social media platform for his work. He's going to work for himself. because he has his mother as me telling him to do that. I'm just encouraging it, let's just say. So maybe there's some real effort to go forward, but then there's a money block. Finances are blocking it. And then we've got that Saturn block in the 8th house. There's some sort of restriction or past life or past debt issues that are blocking the ability to qualify for some sort of a business loan or but you can get online and really raise funds or something, but there's some real hurdle you have to overcome here. And it's important and it's probably stressful, some of these energies, don't forget. When these squares are here, it is, what do we call it? Disruptive. These are disruptive energies, problems that show up. But it's a breakthrough. And then also Saturn's in your 8th house, so you're overcoming fears of debt and you're stabilizing long-term stability in your income. So for Leo, it's like some sort of a creative expression, a breakthrough in their work online. They do something completely different in their efforts to expand some kind of a their Jupiterian cause. Like their minds change. That's the other thing about these energies, like suddenly really changing your mind. Like my son is I'm using him as an example. He's going to build his own company, but now all of a sudden he's going to get offered a job because he just got called for another job and he quit his other job so he could build his company. Well, now all of a sudden somebody else wants to really give him a great deal. So it's like things are shifting and changing and going the wrong way because that's mutable. We're adapting, we're changing our minds. So Leos are changing their mind about how they want to do things on social media to make money, some kind of a money thing that's blocking them, breaking through it.
That's not a comfortable place for Leo to be either, in that changing. We like things.
That's true. Yeah. Fixed. That's right. And Aquarius is a fixed sign. So these energies that create these, see, like it's like after an earthquake and the old rotten buildings fall down, then things are pretty stable for a while. It stabilizes an unstable situation so that we can manifest. So what's ever unstable in any of your houses, it's going to get shaken down so that you can create stability. Fixed energies.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. So I think I could go on, but we can't. There's too much on everything, but
we'll be on here till 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. We're okay. Good. All right. So
Leos, we've got the banana blossom, and
wow,
this here reminds you to slow down a little, create some space in your mind. It also gives you confidence in your ability to achieve what it is that you're here to do. What are your priorities? And this could relate to your mission too. Like, what is your mission? Is that a priority? Does it need to be a priority? Where are you maybe allowing your mind to run away with you, or going, but not really getting anywhere? Like taking that time to just slow down, reassess that Mercury retrograde, reassess, rework it a little bit, and then be ready to go. So the banana blossom is a great support for Leo.
Yeah, it's like Mercury retrograde in their first house. It's like they're going in and really connecting with their true gift. Yeah. Which is actually kind of another way to put that we were talking about. All right. So now we're going to do Virgo. All right. So Virgo, you all are having this hitting. So you're ruled by Mercury, your ruling planet's in retrograde. So you're going to feel that retrograde right now. You're going to be busy. You could be really internally self-criticizing yourself, all kinds of perfectionistic. I have Virgo in my 3rd house, so I'm going like crazy, cleaning out drawers. And so Virgo may be making you go back and redo things, and you may be having a negative internal dialogue. So you got to watch that. So critical, self-critical. So anyway, you also have Venus in your 1st house. I'm sorry, I take that back. That's right now as we're speaking. Mercury is, but in this full moon, it will be in your 12th in the sign of Leo. So there's some deep stuff you're going to go connect with in that 12th house connection to Leo. And I don't want to distract on all of that, but what we're going to look at here is your Aquarius house, which is your 6th house. So you're going to have a full moon in your 6th house, which basically indicates some kind of a radical shift because it's squaring Uranus in your 9th, a spiritual belief. So something's going to happen potentially around your health, potentially, that wakes you up about spirituality and a source of an illness based, because we have the sixth house across the 12th, there's always some sort of karmic issue around health. So something, but your day-to-day life changes, you become overcoming of some sort of health, ending a health problem. If it's not around health, it's belief, a whole new belief, spiritual belief about day-to-day spiritual practices. You're going to have sun there in the 12th, plus you've got Mercury there. So it's almost like new information comes out that shocks you, surprises you. Now this is around karma. It's around a past life issue. And it's and you have a new belief. This you're going to have a whole new shift in your opinions and beliefs around the world. A big wake up on some level. And then Jupiter, Mars in your 10th, you're very driven, very motivated to really turn your career or your sort of maybe or to get going or motivated in some sort of career aspect, a calling. Or you end it, you quit a job because it's squaring that house. So you change your mind about, you have a spiritual awakening that changes your mind about your work and your career, and you're motivated and driven to do something more, and you change your mind. It's a big mind change for Mercury people.
All right. Well, lilac.
I rest my case.
For Virgo,
Oh.
and this talks about flexibility. It supports in adapting to changes, embracing changes, and freedom from rigid structures or rigid thinking, feeling like things have to be a certain way. So I feel like that sums that up pretty darn well.
Wow.
For
Nails
Virgo.
it. Yeah.
And it's a really soft, feminine flower. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. And it's sort of more spiritual, like more in the light, like more, these awakenings, we see the light around something.
It's beautiful.
So it's a breakthrough for Virgo in their spiritual or in their mind or in their thinking. Okay, Libra, a big revolution. Libra. You guys are ruled by Venus. Venus is in the sign of Virgo during this time. Is it? Yes. Yeah. It's an awkward energy for Virgo, for Venus. So your energies you're a little awkward in your energies right now. But here's the thing: this Aquarius full moon is hitting in your 5th house, which is the house of friends, relationships. So there's some sort of breakthrough. Now you could end. There could be a conflict involved, and you end. There's let's see where where's Mars Jupiter? Mars Jupiter in your 9th house, a clash in beliefs. Saturn in your 6th over work beliefs or religious beliefs, some kind of a clash in philosophy or beliefs. You end a friendship, but then there's and it's really the culmination of this friendship's no longer, but then with the Sun, Mercury retrograde, a tribe from the past comes back that is more in alignment with you. So it's almost like a full moon. It could be a relationship, romantic situation, new friends, collaborative joints. If it's involved in your calling, you got to get over. See, it could be some kind of conflict that you had to get over, some kind of rigid belief you had to get over in order to do a project with a friend or a relationship. Your mission is evolving, but it's blocked by your really stubborn belief. And or like you don't believe in spirituality, and it's like you don't believe in the woo-woo stuff, but now you sort of have a shake-up information with that Mercury retrograde in your, where the heck is Mercury? Why do I not see Mercury? Oh, in your 11th house, right in the sun. Hello, Kazimi. So it's like new information about tribes that you end, suddenly you end a group, they're your enemies. And so you now really wake up to more spiritual, you change your mind again. These are big mind changing energies. You have a new belief and you're really motivated to talk more about it. You're really shifting here in a big way around rigid thinking. And then you've got this, so it's going to change your life on a day-to-day, restructures your life. You now believe in the importance of some sort of spiritual practice or becoming of more service, importance of service. And that full moon in your 5th house is like new friends or ending friendships, but new ones are going to come in. Or an entrepreneur project now comes to fruition because you now have a shift in belief that you now know you want to do this joint project. Or so it's like this belief shift causes the initiation of an entrepreneurial venture or co-collaborative or a relationship.
Well, Jasmine is pretty much telling Librans that you are confident, you're radiant, you're attractive, you're magnetizing. There's a self-appreciation and an appreciation of who you are. So this strikes me a little bit like first house, but it also feels very connected to the fifth house, especially if there's a romantic relationship or a friendship that changes. And when those things happen, we often begin to question our own selves. And we go into that storyline. So for those who maybe that is what's happening for them, or maybe a project doesn't work out the way they want, just remembering that they are, appreciating themselves, and then also knowing that they're going to be magnetizing something else to them because they are in this radiant state and ready to receive. So Jasmine for Libra.
Nice. Three, that communication energy, Virgo. It's most likely, that's interesting. That triggers the message of friends from the past coming back in. Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. I love it.
All right. Yep. That was the message there that came through. Okay. So now we've got, we're going to do Scorpio. So, okay. So this full moon is in your fourth house. So a living situation comes, I'm racing along.
There you go.
You can't really read that very well, can you? Scorpio. All right. In your fourth house. So you may suddenly a situation involving money, finances, with Saturn squaring your eighth. You can't afford, sorry, it doesn't sound great, but you have to move. Or you get divorced with that transit there. Now on a positive, you suddenly could otherwise maybe end a debt, enabling you to afford to pay to afford better living situation, so you can afford a better place. But I don't know where that Venus squaring all of this. It could be sort of a financial loss coming in here. So it's like, but full moon in your fourth house, there is improvement in your living situation. Something is liberated. It most likely you move and you're liberating from a situation that isn't good, but there's definitely shakeups in your finance houses with government and taxes and people you owe or joint resources. I mean, there's definitely conflict going on with and maybe tribe or relationship or social media account could crash, or somebody could scam you, but there's definitely some sort of mess going on between friends, eighth house, money, and tribe, and ending disputes here, overcoming them. So if there is some sort of tension and dispute with friends around money and past relationships and something involving I want to say social media or businesses or anything like that, is that it's going to come to a shakedown and a breakup, but it then is, you're liberated from this problem. So the best way through, because that Mercury retrograde will be in your 10th house, is to just find, a harmonic, the best way through it, just to be as unaggressive, and just to, again, look for a truth, with documents and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of tough one for Scorpio. I'm not going to lie. Don't like that one. I was
so excited to hear.
Yeah.
The smooth sailing through this particular one. I'm really like, dang. Let
me see the solution. Let's get to the medicine of this one. I feel like I didn't tap in on it. It would be to have faith and to believe in God, that your salvation.
That's all I got.
And that your salvation is not dependent on this thing, that whatever shakes up here, you are going to learn that you thought that was your salvation, and you're actually, it's not, you're fine. So you're just being tested. You're fears are being tested. Yes.
Oh
Not
boy.
easy ones. Sorry about that. But you're
Well,
going to be liberated out of this. There's a big breakthrough. Don't forget that you're liberated from something here with joint resources or taxes or investments.
well,
Could be liberated from your joint investment with past husband or something.
well, I don't have that, but that could be for someone else.
Okay.
But
Okay. Yes.
the Mandavia very much feels like a remedy for what you were just describing. It is falling in
Okay.
love with what is, just true acceptance of
Yeah.
what is presently in front of you. And it magnifies peace and patience, and then will amplify
Patience is
freedom and
good.
creativity. So that's a little something folks can hold on to. I will do my best as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and the flower looks pretty and happy. So maybe there's some, find those joyful moments in the midst of the disruptions or chaos or
yeah.
heartbreak or loss or whatever it is that you might be experiencing.
Yes. Yes. It is to teach you to be more sovereign. All these, whatever hardship happens, is to push you more into your power. It's
Right.
where we're giving our power away. So it's going to shape you up better.
Beat you up and then shape you up.
Yes, beat you up, reshape you.
What I
Okay,
think
so now we're gonna.
I was
Yeah.
like voice journaling with myself recently,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of like sometimes I feel like the universe will smack you but then soothe you. So you get a smack and then you get a soothe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is somewhat what that feels like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be kind of a tough week. We don't want to but life is bumpy. The roads can be bumpy sometimes, so we just have to brace it, hold on, and be as optimistic and positive as possible through it. All right. So
All right.
now, did I do
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius yet?
You did.
Okay.
You did hold it up. But
Sagittarius. Oh no, I already held the card up.
yeah.
Yep, I did. Okay, so Sagittarius have this happening. You have Aquarius in your third house. So it's like explosive communication, but again, changing your mind, change of plans, perhaps surprising communication. Um, 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 I just see a man carrying a ladder right in front of my window, and I'm on the second floor. I'm like, how do you get up there? But anyway, okay. So
that would be distracting.
So yes. So then Mars, Jupiter in you. So there might be conflict with a relationship and restructuring your family, your living home, property. And then perhaps divorce is kicking in here for Saggy risings. But this Aquarius full moon in your house is perhaps your media channel coming to more fruition, a fulfillment of some kind of writing project. But again, a mind shift, ending a situation around living and a relationship. But even if you're not in a relationship, you're not ending a relationship. It can be a partnership and an agreement, because maybe you're moving and you're restructuring your living situation. So you're ending another living situation. You're selling a property or something. But we're seeing the big explosive change in your third house, which is communication. Revolution is happening in your third house, and that's media. And that can be, sudden success in a media project, or the opposite, depending on your Saturn, how you've been with Saturn. And then you've got perhaps communication, writing projects, busy day to day. I think I'm repeating myself, but basically it can be like arguments as well. Don't forget, because that full moon is going to square. It could be a sudden argument with an ex, over eighth house matters, or over finances, or disputes over properties. So the best thing, the eighth house is ruled by the moon. So all full moons for Sagittarians and new moons affect their eighth house, some deep fears, so fears around money or taxes or joint resources. There could be conflicts around that, but then you're liberated from this problem once and for all.
Okay. So Sagittarius, call in Brugmansia. And Brugmansia helps you surrender to vulnerability in whatever changes might be taking place. It encourages you to ask for help, and helps also support any changes and growth potential that happens during this time, and brings in a sense of ease as well. Kind of like towards the end of that, you were talking about some kind of challenging energies. And so it feels like this would be a really good soothing salve for any of those really kind of, I feel like anything that deals with relationships or a loss of a person or a job, like those big life changes, those really could use a little extra softening. So this would be great for Sagittarius.
Yeah, I like that card. It is about communication here because they have Mercury retrograding. Well, Mercury rules that seventh house and it's in the ninth house. So it's almost like for Sagittarians to not be so, because Sagittarians are the worst. I mean, they can be more dogmatic and rigid. So it's to sort of soften your belief, soften your side of the argument down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Capricorn.
Capricorn, ruled by Saturn retrograde. Saturn, which is in retrograde, your ruling planet. So you're dealing with some real karma, deep stuff. I know a couple that are, and some karmic issues really coming up for clearing right now. The end of it though, because Pluto's going to dip back into your first house for a little bit, where you have to really learn how to reclaim your power and fight for something, and get your power back from something. And so this is happening for Capricorn. It's happening in your second house of money. So a sudden shocking money problem that, you know, is resolved. I would say actually that this is quite positive, because where this full moon is like, if it's in the relationship, it like resolves the issue in the relationship, or it ends the relationship, because that's the full expansion of that relationship. So if it's in your second house, some sort of financial endeavor or talent reaches its full expression. You may quit a way of working all of a sudden because of a successful project explodes and does really well and creates. Remember, these are revolutions in our lives. So you're having a revolution in your money house. So it's like sudden revolution. Maybe you are suddenly in debt, or you suddenly make a lot of money and you're liberated by an art project comes through, and you've been more creative by clearing your karma, and now a creative project comes through and really brings in abundant. Or there's a surprising charge or bill comes up that really eats up all your money, or you have to change jobs. You can quit a job on these energies. A friend comes in and offers you a better job, so you quit one job. Mars, Jupiter in your sixth house, you're being very driven, very busy on a day-to-day to change your living job situation or to really get a better job. You're kind of driven to get money or to improve your finances right now with that full moon. So these actions actually do, I would say with Saturn squaring it, you're potentially going, I know some Capricorn is going through a lot of government tax paperwork they have to deal with. They have to deal with the tax. You have to do a lot of short distance driving, a lot of busy money work. Maybe you have to pay for it. Maybe that's what happens. Full moon in the second house, you have to pay money. But by doing that, you liberate yourself. Like you hire a tax person to clear it up. You liberate yourself from the taxes, but there's a cost, initial cost. But a friend may come in and help you, because that Taurus thing or a creative project comes in and alleviates a financial burden. Or a financial burden flares up that needs alleviation, that needs salvation from a friend. So you have to go to a friend for help. But it's hard to know with Saturn in the picture if this is going to work out positive or negative. But in the end, it's always positive. But does Saturn come in and have to make a course correct something before? And that's what's happened. Saturn's kicking in and course correcting us before we get that. Or if you've already course corrected, then you get the benefits of it. And Saturn wants us to work hard to be disciplined, to put off gratification. So if Sagittarius, a Capricorn have a debt or some sort, they're going to learn to be more disciplined about their money too. So but these are energies that liberate you financially here. It's hard to express that there's good in this as well, as these are hard transits, but they revolutionize our lives. So which means we're liberated. So it's good on the other side. It really is. So let's see. Okay, there we go. Your turn.
Squash blossom. The key word here is liberation. So it's so on point with the energy that you were describing.
Wow.
It connects with creative expression, healthy expression in order to inspire others. And I feel like when we're inspiring others, the likelihood is that there could be a like an exchange, which could financially or show us our value that we have, whether that's financially or, just that sense of worth of us. So the squash blossom, and, even with the color, it's creative. It's got that feeling of that sacral creative energy, and using your sexual energy, utilizing that energy to create and birth a new idea, which could then lead to, something valuable in many ways that you put out into the world.
It really pulls the reed for Sagittarians. I'm sorry, Capricorn. It really pulls the read that I just did. Like if I share their chart really quick for Saggies, you'll see what I'm saying. So
or
one
Capricorn.
Of the things,
I'm
sorry, Capricorn. One of the things that Capricorns have to do is learn how, because you see how they have Taurus over their fifth. So one of the signs that Capricorn, the more, because they're so security based, so rigid, and they're walking a secure path and just wanting financial stability, that they're here to learn to let go and be more creative, because that's where Taurus is. So the more creative and artistic they are, and that is the orange chakra, and there's Taurus there. They have Taurus over that, which means they make money, that they have abundance that way. That's how they actually do better. So the less secure based choices that Capricorn makes, and the more trusting and fiery and Leo and creative and expressive and playful they do, they're taking their true soul progression in that energy, and that's where their abundance is. And that color just literally proves my point that is Capricorn. And I know some Capricorn who finally did take a more creative path, and they're fine. That's what I think. That's why when you pulled that card, it totally leans the reed to their creative pursuits, now bringing them the fruits of that creative effort. So if they took more risks and went for creative projects, they're gonna reap rewards.
Awesome.
So,
do it, Capricorns. Aquarius. Aquarius. It's a big one. First house.
okay, you guys, I mean, I just don't even know what to say. You've had so many major transits hitting. You've had the Jupiter Uranus, the Mars Uranus, and all these full moons hitting it, Mercury squaring it, Venus is going to square it. I mean, I don't know, actually Venus already squared it. So it's like, what a shakeup in your first house, your lives. I mean, okay, so let's get there here. Okay, so, and plus you've got Pluto in your first house. I mean, I just don't even know what to say. So you're going to have a full moon in your first house, whole new identity. But again, a crisis thing, because it's going to square your Taurus is your fourth house. So you could suddenly move, you could suddenly end a relationship. You could suddenly, I mean, these are wild cards. You could suddenly get into a big conflict with a contracted partnership. You've got Mercury opposing that in retrograde, in Leo, fired up issues. Ending it squares Uranus in your fourth house, suddenly ending or suddenly moving, leaving, freeing, liberating yourself from a relationship. Or if you're in your right relationship, you liberate yourself from a property and you make a big shift for the relationship. Like you end living in some place and you go move in so that you can expand on a joint mission with that relationship. Jupiter, Mars, and so the creative project, there's this nice sort of roof pointing towards Jupiter, Mars. So maybe to have a child or expand your family, you move, you have a relationship. I mean, radical change. And you take on the project of a joint entrepreneurial project. It could even be like building on a property. Or you suddenly get a lot of money from a property that sells. Venus is in your eighth house. It's squaring your Jupiter, that enables you to end a debt, that enables you to either build a property or move into a better house. Or there is a financial crash of some sort for you because we have it squaring Saturn in your second house. So you have some sort of tax bill could come in that crushes the project and you have to sell your property. I mean, it's a smorgasbord of all of that.
Yeah, I'm
But you're
actually just,
liberated. Whatever happens liberates you. If you end a relationship, you're liberated. If you move your property, real estate, changing something around that, you're going to be liberated. It's for your highest good. If you're in the right relationship in the right home, you change the house and your relationship changes because now you're working on a project together. I mean, we're just looking at a big shift and change. And don't forget the full moon in your first house. Your whole identity shifts. You become much more empowered, but also some big revelations, wake ups around something that makes you want to end the relationship and move and go ahead.
well, I just wanted to share because I just popped over to YouTube and Regina's still with
Yeah.
us. Thanks for hanging with us,
Hi,
Regina.
Regina. Glad you're
And
here.
she basically was saying, she was, I'll skip a couple of, well, she said something we were saying, smack and soothe sounded kind of BDSM-ish. Yeah, I guess it did. And she said, God's spirit has a sure unique way of soothing. Totally. Yeah, I agree with that completely. I know she's an Aquarius sun. So I just want to say to you, Regina, that listen to this one, but also I can't remember your rising sign, but listen to the forecast for your rising sign also, because that's going to tell you a bit more about the story that's unfolding, and that you might find there might be something soothing in that for you. I know for me, whenever I have difficulties, I'm constantly looking for the thread of gold that might be a bright light. Like, where is that leading? Is that leading to my rainbow? Because the dark clouds are not having a good time here. The flower for Aquarius, I think, is just amazing.
Wow.
White magnolia, you are divine. The message is you are divine. It activates spiritual fulfillment, the ability to sense the divine in every moment. And I'm going to be holding on to this one a little bit myself because I feel like it is so very much connected to this period of time, that there is divine in every moment, even if it doesn't feel super. Deep peace, awakening, high aspiration. So I think to echo what you were saying before, Madeleine, is that even through these tough transits, there's always something higher, something brighter. I don't want to say better, but just something that feels better maybe to come. And kind of like diamonds require a lot of pressure to form. I feel like we're very, very similar. So I love the white magnolia for Aquarius.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a major, so we're really looking at a spiritual awakening for Aquarius. I just want to see where their ninth house is Libra. So they're letting go of old beliefs that they had just to make other people happy. So it's like they're really waking up, and that's like that red is Aries in the background, which is the material realm, and now they're just waking up to the spirituality big time. Wake up. That's the waking up energy.
I so feel that.
Yeah.
I so feel that. And just not to confuse things, but I also drew a flower for the full moon, overarching full moon energy. And it was the papaya flower, which activates receptivity and the message, gentle is powerful. It's a balance of the masculine and the feminine aspects, collaboration and compatibility within relationships. So I feel like there's even though Aquarius is more 11th house based, when it comes to tribes and things like that. I feel like we've talked a lot about relationships and shakeups in friendships and different relationships. And so just an awareness that, maybe that's a focal point. Maybe that's something to look at and finding a balance in whatever way you can. And I also like that this is it's a kind of a dainty flower. It feels gentle. And I feel like we could all use a little gentle right now. We've been battered a bit. So that's for the overall vibe. And then last but certainly not least, Pisces. What have they got going on?
So yeah, let's take a look at Pisces here. We've got so you've got Saturn in your first house. So you're having a big sort of upgrade maturity growth spurt. I was reading for a friend of mine's daughter, and I said she's about to have a major growth spurt. She has Saturn in her first house, and I mean, I'm not kidding you. She was like just a little teeny girl, and then next year she was like a woman. I was like, wow. So yeah, so there's a lot of maturity, more responsibilities coming in for Pisces, but this is going to happen in their 12th house. So this is a full moon where they take some big long distance trips or travel or go to the country, but it's basically karmic past life awareness, and it's like a waking up energy, because they're going to have third house thinking. Uranus is in the third house, so it's like some sort of big spiritual transformation where they realize that they have a trauma past life, something that happened that's stopping them or makes them afraid of spirituality, like they got persecuted, or they're going to have Pluto in their 12th house, so they're really going to deal with some sort of past life trauma around being independent and being, shall we say, persecuted for beliefs or spirituality. So it's like there's a lot of stuff coming up that's going to clear for that for Pisces, and then but it could be like a culmination of something like, for instance, my son is Pisces rising, and it could be a full moon in his 12th. He suddenly gets hired to do he's a musician, so he could be doing retreats out in the country, or what do you call them, festivals. There could be a big download, a big aha experience where they really get some sort of spiritual experience, or a download, or a vision in a dream. What they see what they're here to do. They wake up, and then they've got like Jupiter, Mars in their 4th house of living. They feel very driven and motivated to either change their work so they can live at home, or to really spend more time at home so they can study and learn something, or work and communicate and write, mercurial. But basically the full moon in a 12th house is more of a spiritual experience, more of a soul revelation, download that. And then the sun is in their 6th, so it's like it does alter their day-to-day on some level. You could quit something, you could end an addiction, understand a fear-based reason why you have an addiction and end it. But again, we're talking about a revolution, so it's a 12th house revolution, so it's like some sort of past life trauma catching up with you, and it could be a peak, could be really traumatic, like a lot of emotional upset and connection, or deep triggers that bring it up, and that but it purges it and it's gone after that.
Well, I think Pisces are going to need the rose then to support that process, because rose is the highest vibrational flower. The message is nurture yourself. It activates tenderness, kindness, caring for yourself, and healing emotional wounds and scars, which, I mean, that is pretty much what you were just talking about.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah. So this would be great. And
right.
this is a great,
Yeah.
an easy flower to get. They're everywhere. So you can literally get some, and I would also use your intuition for a choice of color. You know, what color rose feels really nurturing and supportive and tender for you. Place them on your desk or by your bed. You could even take some petals and put it in the tub. Really just allow yourself to be enveloped in that energy of the rose.
I also, yes, and I hate to add some little more negative aspect to this, but also travel plans could get canceled. A trip could get canceled. A plan to go to Burning Man, for instance, could get canceled. Burning Man would be very 12th house, Aquarius there. So something could happen in the news or in the world that a lot of things, travel gets canceled for people. So yeah, so just to throw that in there as a shadow thing too. But again, if anything is blocked or canceled, it's for your higher good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and then that flower that you showed was just like, you know, accept things as they are, like just blend with the external world and the internal world. Like,
yeah, as best you can.
Yeah. And that's probably a good message for all of us, you know.
Yes.
To flow through these blockages, be water, because that Pisces water, you're going to get around it. Flow and be nice.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you have to go see the IRS, you know, the tax department, be really flow and be really nice. with them, and they'll be like, wow, it's so nice to be refreshed, to be around somebody nice. And usually people are mad and mean at us, so
That could help. That
because
could
we're
help.
all humans here trying to struggle here, trying to improve the situations that we're in.
Yeah.
That's a collective
As the
reach,
best.
but
Yeah. as
for the
best-
whole humanity too.
Yeah. Doing our best. Doing our best. So I guess that wraps it up. We've got some
144. Wow, it was 144. So crazy.
That's so cool.
That's so age of Aquarius, 100 for light workers. Yeah.
Very
So
supportive.
stand up light workers. That's what this is. That's the message of the light worker. That's the main message of this full moon, is the light workers are stepping up and their missions are coming to galvanization and fruition, and the blocks are overcoming the blocks of Saturn. The restriction of the past, and the governments and the corrupt and the old ways. We're busting through them, and we're creating the new world now.
All
which
right.
is better for the people. Yeah. All right. On that note.
Yeah. So let me just see if anyone else has comments. No, Regina says, thank you, gorgeous flower. So I think
Thanks
we're
for being there.
we're good there. Yes. Thank you, Regina, for hanging with us the whole time. Thank you for those who may have popped in and out. And thank you for those who are watching the replay. We appreciate you. You are the reason why we do this. We're so happy that we can be of support and guidance. And if anyone is looking for further support or guidance through astrology or tarot and other intuitive wisdom, Madeline can support there. If you're looking for a little bit of a smorgasbord of spiritual sciences, human design, astrology, gene keys, soul contract, and a little sprinkling in of the flower goodness and a number of other things, I am happy to support, and we appreciate you. We'll see you in about 2 weeks with the upcoming Virgo new moon. Yes, please do subscribe on both of our pages. It really helps us out a lot to get the message out to more people. And thank you again for joining us.
Bye.
Bye for now.